New details tonight as outrage is setting in. 5, quote, extremists, as law enforcement call them, allegedly training children to kill people in schools, by some accounts, at a New Mexico compound, are now allowed out of jail to go free as they await their trial. Now, earlier this month, there was a raid on the compound that uncovered a house of horrors where 11 malnourished children lived with no food or water, and they were discovered basically living in filth. The remains of a young child, a 3-year-old child, was also found on the grounds. Despite one child telling adults that the compound was a school shooting training ground, the judge in this case said that there was no specific threat here and that the facts are, quote, troubling, but, quote, if you have lived in northern New Mexico for any period of time, you're aware that many people here live in unconventional ways, she said. The police, you're about to hear, are outraged by that assessment. Trace Gallagher joins us now live in our West Coast newsroom with the backstory. Hi, Trace.
Hi, Martha. And breaking right now, because of that controversial decision by Judge Sarah Backus not to detain the suspects arrested for child abuse, a, quote, credible threat against the judge has now forced the evacuation of the Taos County Courthouse. Authorities won't give information about the source of the threat, but Judge Backus has come under fire by telephone, email, and social media, including this, quoting, "This idiot judge needs immediate disbarment. If anyone else is hurt by these criminals, I hope she is jailed." Meantime, in court proceedings, prosecutors said the adults at the compound were teaching children how to shoot to kill teachers, cops, and students. And the FBI testified that children were forced to attend an exorcism to expel the demons from 3-year-old Abdul Wahaj. The little boy apparently had epilepsy, but witnesses say his father, Siraj Wahaj, would not give his son medication. And when the boy died of a seizure, the father told the children that Abdul would come back as Jesus and tell them who to kill. But the defense argued that this compound was nothing more than a religious journey, and the Quran says there's no law against guns or rituals. Watch.
There's certainly no prohibition against training a 15 or a 13-year-old how to use a firearm, right? There's certainly no prohibition against that, correct?
None to my knowledge.
The defense also argued that because the defendants are Muslim or black, prosecutors are applying a double standard. Judge Backus, a Democrat and former San Francisco public defender who's been criticized in the past for setting low bail, allowed a $20,000 signature bond for the members, meaning no money was due up front. They would only pay if they failed to show for trial. Last month, Backus set a $10,000 bail for a man accused of punching his girlfriend as she breastfed their newborn. He also allegedly slapped the child. In the case of the 11 children at the compound, the judge defended her action, saying prosecutors did not prove the defendants had planned to kill anyone. And breaking right now, we're being told that one of the leaders, the female leader of that compound, has now been picked up on an immigration violation by ICE. More as we get it. Martha.
There you go. Trace, thank you very much. Joining me now, Ryan Mauro, national security analyst for the Clarion Project and professor of counterterrorism at Liberty University. Ryan, welcome. Good to have you here. What do you know about the leader of this group?
Well, it turns out that it was actually a female-led cult, which is not what you would expect from an Islamic extremist movement that usually oppresses women. But apparently she somehow convinced these people that she was having revelations from God. So some sources are saying she even claimed to be the Mahdi, this messianic, sort of like apocalyptic end-times figure, and that the child that they were expelling the demons from and passed away, unfortunately, they believe he would come back as Jesus and tell them what targets to go after. So this is not just a radical Islamic camp. This is a radical Islamic cult. It's even worse. And so that's why I'm just so outraged by what the judge did today. Obviously, don't go threatening her or anyone. That we don't want her resigning because of that. But still, I was getting a lot of text messages from law enforcement, including in New Mexico, that was saying, why do we even try anymore if this is going to be the result?
So now this Miriam, who you refer to, that was the name that she is known by. Her name is Janie Leviel, has been picked up, as we just said, on an ICE violation. So she will be held for a while. But in terms of the, sort of the lack of okay, so they weren't planning anything imminent, is what this judge is saying, right? But when you look at what they did to these children are malnourished. One child died under their care. You've got abuse, clear child abuse that's going on here. If that's not enough to hold these adults who were endangering the lives of these children, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so the prosecutors were saying, don't release them out even on house arrest. It's too dangerous because sometimes people escape, and Islamic extremists would be most likely to escape or to try to kill someone in that situation. I was reading the document that was filed by the judge where she justified her decision, and it's one of the most absurd documents I've ever read. She basically agreed with the defense that the prosecutors were pushing religious discrimination because they had said, oh, well, if these were white Christians, would they even be here? And she was saying you can't inject faith into this decision. Well, you can when it's an ideological death cult, which is what this was. She was saying that there wasn't a credible threat directly to the community because they couldn't lay out a plan of attack. It was just aspirational. Well,
what about the plot or what they were training the children to do? One of the children said they were being trained to do school shootings.
Aspirational. So she would argue that because it's not a plan of attack to actually do something on a certain date, but it could happen at any moment.
I mean that's the fine point, though, right? I mean, what one judge determines to be aspirational and not able to hold someone in custody, another judge would say that's exactly the reason why they should be held until their trial.
Because it could happen at any second. And she also said that there wasn't enough evidence that they wouldn't show up for their trial. They were living with a fugitive. There's plenty of evidence. She has got to be the worst judge in the country. I've never seen anything like this. But I'm also really sad to hear that people are threatening her because for her to resign in the wake of threats, we don't want to vindicate that type of extremism either.
All right. Ryan, thank you very much. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
We'll be following it. All right. So coming up here this evening, a 36-year-old Special Forces soldier became the 5th American